Hello, my name's Greg Taylor. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for Exchange Server and Exchange Online here at Microsoft. And this session today is to talk about Exchange and how it's here, there, and everywhere. I have a packed agenda for you today. Basically, it consists of news, and more news. I've got lots of pieces of useful information about both Exchange Server and Exchange Online today. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first piece of news today is about the Exchange Server 2019 Mailbox Role Calculator. Now, as many of you might know, when we were at Ignite a couple of years ago and we launched Exchange Server 2019, we also announced that we were going to stop producing or releasing the calculator as a separate download. We were going to include it as part of the actual product itself. Now, there are actually a lot of good reasons for doing that. I still will stand by that. It really helps enormously with the accuracy of the calculator if the team who both build the product and build the calculator are the same people. And over time, you find that, if when that doesn't happen, it gets a lot harder for changes in the product to be reflected in the calculator. However, we know that really caused some challenges with forward planning, particularly, consultants and IT pros who are looking to think about the calculator as a separate tool without having to complete a product purchase or have the right kind of volume licensing agreement to get the bits. So what we've decided to do is go back to our original structure of releasing the calculator out of band to the product, which I'm sure will make many of you very happy. And we will be putting this into an announcement on the Exchange team blog. So please do take a look at the blog and please do follow the link. And we hope you're happy with this news. The link to the blog is in the top right-hand corner of the slide here. And as I go throughout this presentation, you're also going to find the link in the top right corner of the blog changing so that you can see where you'll find more information about the particular piece of news that we're covering today. So first piece of news out of the way. Mailbox Role Calculator separately available as a download. So moving on to the next piece of news, and this is to do with hybrid and the inclusion of the ability to add a hybrid connection to multiple tenants from the same on-premises organization. So historically, we've had this one-to-one mapping on-premises to a single tenant. And we know some customers, many customers in fact, really have more than one tenant. And there's a variety of reasons they might want to do that. And when the wizard doesn't make it possible to create multiple hybrid connections between one on-prem and multiple tenants, it gets a bit tricky with configuration. There's a lot of manual configuration steps. So we've taken that feedback and we've now built the ability for the hybrid configuration wizard to establish a hybrid relationship with more than one tenant. This change should be rolling out in the HCW around the time of this presentation and Ignite, Microsoft Ignite in 2020. There are a few restrictions, a few caveats in this first release. So we're allowing up to five tenants to be configured with hybrid at any one time. The hybrid configuration wizard needs to be rerun for each. And that's kind of important. We don't do all 5 in one go. You'll need to rerun the HCW each time you want to add or change anything. And if you're interested in using Hybrid Mod North, which if you're not familiar with Hybrid Mod North, gives on-premises mailbox users the ability to use Azure AD for authentication, which is great because it allows you to easily introduce things like multi-factor auth, apply conditional access and so on to users whose mailboxes are still on-prem. Now, if you want to do that with more than one tenant, unfortunately, you can't still at this stage. The on-premises Exchange server can really only send you to one tenant for authentication. So if you want HMA, it's going to be with one tenant, not all 5. And the final restriction here is just that this is an Exchange Server 2016-2019 thing on premises. You need to get rid of the 2010, which I hope you haven't got, and 2013 in order to take advantage of this. It also won't set up FreeBusy between the tenants that you created, but that's something you can still go and do manually. It's the hybrid mesh, if you're familiar with that phrase, or that's a good phrase to go searching for. And that gives you the ability to go and look at FreeBusy cross-tenant, not just back to on-premises. So that's our second piece of news, hybrid exchange with multiple tenants. So onwards to the Exchange Admin Center. Now, we announced the preview of the Exchange Admin Center at the Ignite 2019 event, and we showed off our first look at the Admin Center. We made the URL available for you to go use. The URL's right here on screen, admin.exchange.microsoft.com. You can go and use that URL today to see our new Exchange Admin Center experience. Now, it's been a long process. There's a lot of work. The Exchange Admin Center has been around since the inception of Office 365, and we really haven't done any changes until now. But we've been busy over the last year finishing up our parity work, meaning the same features are available in the new Admin Center as in the old. And now we've kind of moved on to thinking about how an admin might want to personalize their Admin Center experience, help with dashboards, give them actionable insights, that kind of stuff, and also make the experience work really well on a mobile device. Now, we're very close to completing our Admin Center work. And in fact, we're adding an opt-in toggle to the existing or legacy Admin Center EAC imminently. And so you'll be able to opt into the new experience without even having to change or pop out into a different window. Within the same window, the Admin Center experience will switch from old to new. And you can go back if you find something that you prefer the older approach. But we're definitely going to be pushing people forward into this new Admin Center experience. And we plan to GA this early calendar year 2021. So what does it look like? Well, I'll give you a few ideas. And so here's kind of the opening experience for the Admin Center, the new Admin Center. You'll find it's more of a dashboard approach, very similar to many of the other M365 Admin Center experiences. And here at a glance, you get the opportunity to have a look at mail flow or domain or NDRs, any other kind of high-level things. We have a variety of high-level cards. And you can, of course, adjust that to suit your own requirements. So as you see top right here, we have an option to add cards to the dashboard. And so if you're particularly interested in one area of focus, you can pin those cards to your dashboard, move others that you're less interested away. So, of course, you might choose to, move things around here and look at non-delivery reports, for example, and have a dashboard view of really what's going on with mail flow, if that's particularly what you're interested in keeping an eye on. Of course, all of these are cards that you can click into, find more information, find out the data behind it. And, mail flow, for example, we have a bunch of additional reports that are available, and we are continually developing as well all of these available reports to try and help you understand what's really going on within your tenant, give you some insights, give you some advice, help you find the solution to problems before they become real problems. So you've got a variety of reports here. You might, for example, be interested in finding out messages that are being automatically forwarded out of your tenant, where users have set up auto-forwarding rules, and perhaps that's something that you really don't want to happen, obviously for compliance, regulatory reasons, whatever they may be. We'll give you an easy report that lets you see who's forwarding the messages and where they're forwarding them to. Or, perhaps you just want to look at kind of where which connectors messages are flowing through, if any queues are backing up. We're giving you a variety of really powerful insights and reporting straight there in the Admin Center. No need to run PowerShell commandlets if you don't want to. Nice, easy way of seeing what's going on inside your tenant. Now, we have a recorded session in the Ignite 2020 timeframe as well, covering not just our new Admin Center experience, but also our V2 PowerShell and giving an update on what's going on there. And PowerShell V2, the Exchange Online V2 module for PowerShell, again, something we talked about at Ignite last year and we previewed. Now we're fully GA with this at the moment. We have 20,000 plus admins using this exclusively, and we have 250 million commandlet calls going on per month. But that's not everyone. So we really want more people to start using it. So why would you start using the V2 commandlets? Well, there's kind of three things really. First one is we added new commandlets, REST-based commandlets, to particularly help with some of those large data set manipulations and returns. We used to hear from tenants with very large tenants or that PowerShell commandlets would sometimes be slow or fail. So we did a lot of work to create new commandlets backed by REST, which are considerably faster and allow you to work with much larger data sets much more easily. And the second important thing is that we added those commandlets, but we certainly haven't taken anything away. The 700 odd commandlets that all of your scripts use or that you're accustomed to using are all still there. So by using the V2 module, you're not losing anything, you're only gaining. And the last thing that you're gaining really is modern authentication. We're getting away from using basic auth for PowerShell, and this module uses modern auth from the get-go. We're going to talk more about basic auth a little bit later on, but that's a good thing to do. In the last few months as well, we have also provided a solution for how to work, how an unattended script might use PowerShell v2 as well. So many of you gave us the feedback that PowerShell v2 is great and everything, but what about my automation? What about my scripts? So the solution's been shipped as well. We're one of the options available, and there are several. One of the options that we'd really like people to use, though, is certificate-based authentication. We have a bunch of documentation and examples that show you exactly how you can go about using cert-based auth for your automated scripting needs. There's the solution. And the last piece of information around this is we are actually now beginning a preview for our Linux and PowerShell core support for the V2 module. So if you're interested in using either of those platforms, then make sure you go follow the links and listen to the sessions we recorded for the new Admin Center and PowerShell experience for Exchange Online. There's our news there. All right, so another piece of news. Now, something else we talked about at Ignite last year is now pretty much ready, will be available in October 2020, and that's plus addressing in Exchange Online. Now, you might wonder what is plus addressing. So let me just quickly explain what plus addressing is and why it's a good thing. So we've all had the experience where we sign up for a website, for a newsletter, whatever it might be. And in this case, the problem is that you sign up with your real email address, and before too long, you start seeing spam. And it's very hard to know from which site perhaps your email address was captured or sold, perhaps. And so what plus addressing lets you do, once your tenant admin has enabled it for your tenant, okay, so I'm going to put that out, which is we're rolling it out. The tenant admin will need to enable this. It's an option. Is the users will be able to dynamically create an SMTP address on the fly. And they'll do that with the plus sign and an identity or a reference that they are making up. So in this case, the Kim Akers has added plus Motherbones because Kim is signing up for the Motherbones newsletter. So Kim signs up, Kim Akers plus Motherbones at realtruthpr.com, and emails will start being accepted right away for that particular domain or that particular email address once the admin's enabled it. Now, what Kim goes and does next is Kim goes and sets up an inbox rule, a simple rule: when emails are delivered or sent to this particular address, take the following action. And really where the power comes in, of course, then is you could create a folder and you could then funnel all the mail sent to that particular email address to that particular folder. And you'd expect it to only be the Motherbones newsletters or Motherbone related information. So when something else starts showing up in there, like a Contoso Loans email, you know how they got your email address, and then you can perhaps choose to take action. Don't sign up for Motherbones, change your email address, whatever it might be. But at least you know where the address was leaked from, and we give you a capability of doing that with our plus addressing. Coming out October 2020, admins will need to turn it on. Do watch the Exchange blog. We'll be providing some information there to admins about how to enable it. Okay, moving on. Our next piece of news, we're going to talk about On-Premises Exchange. Now, today, the big news really is that we're going to talk about the next version of On-Premises Exchange Server. And we're going to be releasing that version of Exchange in the second half of 2021. The bigger news is that this is going to be a version of Exchange that will only be available with the purchase of a subscription. Now, this ongoing subscription, much as when you buy a cloud service from ourselves or any other cloud provider, this subscription entitles you to updates and support and for the life of your subscription. Now, we're building a product that we are intending to be a long-term, very serviceable, long-term product, easy upgrades, easy maintenance, and so on and so forth. And an additional piece of news at the end of this as well is it's not just Exchange doing this. I'm happy to announce this same model is going to be for Skype for Business Server and for SharePoint Server 2. And so all three of these Office Server products, vNext will be second half of 2021, and will be available only through a subscription type purchase. Now back to Exchange for a second, and thinking specifically about how, if you have this subscription-based version vNext, what are you going to do? How do you install it? Well, we've got a couple of pieces of news here, which we hope will really help. So the first is we're increasing the versions from which you can upgrade. From 2 in previous versions, we've always allowed you to kind of go from the previous 2 versions of Exchange to the newest, to 3 in this case. So we're going to allow an Exchange Server 2013 customer, in addition to 2016 and 19 customer, to migrate forward to this new version of Exchange Server. Now, if you're already on Exchange Server 2019, this is going to be good news for you. You can do an in-place upgrade. We're bringing back in-place upgrades only for Exchange Server 2019 because the products are so very similar at this stage. And so it's going to be as simple as essentially applying a CU, a cumulative update. You'll be able to have Exchange Server 2019 and Exchange Server vNext in the same DAG, in the same load balancer pool. You can treat them as one and the same for a period of about 2 years. Probably 8 CUs will do that for. And so we're giving you a simple way, if you're on Exchange Server 2019, to transition to this on-premises subscription-based product, assuming that you're staying on premises and you think you'll be there for a long period of time. The subscription version of Exchange, vNext, is going to be the solution for you. But this is important too, even if you're on Exchange Server 2013 or 16. So if you're on Exchange Server 2013 or 16 and you know you're staying on premises for some period of years to come, you know you're going to be there, it means you can start planning today. That any work you do to move to Exchange Server 2019 is going to be completely applicable to this next version of Exchange. And so you can move to 2019 in the next year, knowing you can do an easy in-place upgrade when vNext to Exchange Server becomes available second half of 2021. So we really hope that if you're sitting on premises and you're wondering what comes next, this is what comes next, keep moving forward. So let me frame this in a different way as well, on a bit of a timeline. You see we have a timeline of years heading across here, and we're over on the left-hand side where this recording is around September, October in 2020, and we're announcing the change that we're making. Now, Exchange Server 2013 is currently in extended support, and will run out of extended support April 2023. So there's the 2013 story. 2016 is still in mainstream support for a very short period of time. Then we have a 5-year period of extended support ending in October 2025, and Exchange Server 2019 is our current in-market version in mainstream support, heads out of mainstream support beginning of 2024, and coincides October 2025 with the Exchange Server 2016 end of extended support date. Now, one is, as you'll see, Exchange Server 2019 is a much shorter extended support period. It's a 2-year period. In fact, it's slightly under 2 years, but that's because the 5 years of mainstream support are actually slightly more than 5 years. It adds up to 7 in total. And previous versions of Exchange had a 5-year mainstream and 5-year extended support lifecycle. But we changed that with all of our 2019 series of Office server products. And the reason really as well is we want to try and get people into this new model. So here's Exchange Server vNext. We're going to release the second half of 2021. And for a 2-year period, we will be allowing in-place upgrades from Exchange Server 2019 to this new version of Exchange. So you could go from any of these positions, 2013 or 2016, you can migrate to 2019, or go straight to the subscription version of Exchange when we make that available. But you have a couple of options if you're on 13 or 16. Once we reach the end of that 2-year cycle, you won't be able to do in-place upgrades. You'll still, of course, be able to migrate to it, but you'll be building new servers and moving mailboxes and so on, and configuration and so forth. But you won't be able to do an in-place upgrade. So we kind of really would encourage, if you're thinking about staying on premises, if you know you're going to be on premises for some period of time, get on 2019 Exchange right now or as quickly as you can, and then do the in-place upgrade when it becomes available. And those will be the last major upgrades you're ever going to do. So we hope you'll find that a compelling story, and we'll have more news about this at our spring 2021 Microsoft Ignite event as well. Now let's come back and talk about Exchange Server 2016 and hybrid for a short moment. I briefly touched a few moments ago on Exchange Server 2016 still being in mainstream support and heading into extended support. Now, this is particularly important, and we actually blogged about this recently. We blogged about the fact that Exchange Server 2016 was coming to the end of mainstream, heading into extended, and what should you do if you only need it for hybrid reasons? Now, it's important because many of you are using Exchange Server 2016 using a free hybrid key because you really only need the server for recipient management. What we really wanted to do was assure you that being in extended support, when you're only using the server for recipient management purposes, is perfectly fine. Now, in extended support, we don't release CUs, cumulative updates. The CUs are mainly bug fixes or product changes. But we certainly still release security patches and we release time zone patches. And they're the ones that are most important. We're not really changing the code in this hybrid connectivity model at all. So just making sure these servers are up to date from a security and time zone perspective is the safest way to make sure that the servers are safe and secure. Now, we're not providing a free license for hybrid reasons for both Exchange Server 2019 and the next version, the subscription version of Exchange that I talked about a few moments ago as well. So if you're only keeping Exchange Server 2016 there for your hybrid recipient management, then I'm going to tell you, perfectly fine to keep it on 2016. Please do, until we have a solution for getting rid of that last Exchange server. But if you are planning on staying on premises for some years to come, don't sit there on 2016. Do this thing we just talked about, which is migrate to Exchange 2019. Do the upgrade now, and then move to the subscription version of Exchange when it becomes available. Because if you're going to keep Exchange on premises for years to come, let's do it through a product which is in full mainstream support, where you get to open bugs and contact support without any concerns at all. Only leave that server there in extended support if your goal is to get rid of it when we release the solution for removing the last Exchange server. Now, talking about the last Exchange server, the one piece of news, unfortunately, is there really isn't any news. And I'm sorry to have to say that to you. We genuinely understand that many of our customers, all of our customers, in fact, who've moved all their mailboxes to the cloud, but keep the source of authority for Active Directory and identities on premises, they have to keep Exchange around just for recipient management. We completely understand that's difficult and expensive to do, and we are doing our utmost to get rid of that. It's a complicated problem, though. There are several different teams involved, and there's some complexities, and it's taking us some time to work through it. We definitely do have a solution in mind, and we're working towards it. But I'm hoping that Spring Ignite 2020 will have some more news on that. But for now, we're committed to solving the problem, I can assure you, but I don't really have any news today to share. And that's the news. There's no news. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, moving forward again, I want to switch gear and talk about basic authentication and Exchange Online. Now, if you've been watching the Exchange team blog, you'll know we announced that we are retiring basic authentication from Exchange Online. Now, we had a date originally, and due to one reason or another, we moved the date out, and we're talking now the second half of 2021. And it is our intention to turn off basic auth in Exchange Online. Now, why, you might ask, just in case you're wondering. Well, basic authentication is one of the easiest and most commonly used methods that customers find their tenant data has been accessed without their authorization. Credentials are too easily captured or guessed. And so the moment that the attacker has access to just even one user's username and password, and bear in mind, most usernames, RBS and TP address, and they're very commonly used. All it takes is one user with one weak password. Your entire directory can be compromised simply by one person's ability to go and open the global address list in Exchange, for example. So we really want to get away from using basic auth and switch to using modern auth, where we're able to do conditional access and many clever things in Azure to control access to the data, We can enforce multi-factor auth, we can apply risk analysis and all of those other good things. But in order to do that, we've got to get away from basic auth. So when we announced basic auth was being retired, we've been working through a series of enhancements to help you, the admin, understand the basic auth usage in your tenant. So we provided reports. We have the ability for you to go see in Azure AD sign-in logs, to go and see who's using basic auth and what clients or apps are using it. We provided admin center controls very recently for you to be able to go in and with simple steps, go and turn on or off basic auth for different protocols. And we've actually released modern auth support for POP, IMAP, and SMTP auth. So we're actually adding capability to some of those legacy protocols so that they can be done securely, because we do understand that POP and IMAP are still in use for a variety, and SMTP auth too, of course, for a variety of our customers. And some of those third parties that have apps that are IMAP and SMTP auth based perhaps have gone and added modern auth support. So just upgrading that client, switching to modern auth, people can keep using the same client. That's perfectly fine. Now, a couple of things as well. We are looking at continuing our work to turn off basic auth for new tenants, something we've been doing using security defaults already, and we're broadening the scope of that so that all new tenants will eventually have basic auth disabled by default. And the other thing we will be doing is going and turning off basic auth for tenants who aren't using it. We'll have more details, and we will be letting tenants know when this is happening to their particular tenant. But if we've got no recorded usage, having basic auth enabled in that tenant, just because that's the default configuration, or it has been historically, is just a risk to you and your data. So if there's no usage, we're going to be turning it off. You can turn it back on until the point at which we retire it for good, but we really think this is a good thing for your data and your tenant's security. Okay, so we're nearly through. That's the real kind of news. Now, there's a couple of other really important pieces of information I want to try and get across. We've done a bunch of video recordings for this Ignite 2020 timeframe here. And so I really wanted to make sure that you see those. Now, it's a library of content for both Exchange and Outlook and time management and bookings, and they're all available on the links that you've been seeing top right. And I have a slide full of links just in a second as well. But there's two learning paths I particularly want to call out. And these are learning paths that you can dip in and out of and consume in the order in which you want them. And the first of these is called Mailbox Protection with Microsoft 365. And this is really the story of how Exchange at the back end, through Azure, through MDM or Intune Solution, EMS, and right through to Outlook on the client, form a complete end-to-end security story for you and your data. And so we talk about how we protect the disk in Exchange, how we protect the data on disk in Exchange, how authentication and authorization are handled, how we protect the data on the device, right through to how the apps protect data from leaking. So there's a series of sessions there put together, which we hope will tell you an end-to-end story and help build, if necessary, trust in this end-to-end story of solutions that we have. And it's going to show you why Exchange plus Outlook and all the other pieces that sit in the middle is the most secure way you can do email and time management in M365. And the next learning path is I'm really pleased we were able to do this for the Ignite timeframe. And this is going to run for us, this series. It's a series of videos around setting up for success with Exchange Online, how to successfully migrate and get into Exchange Online. We still have a lot of on-premises customers trying to move to the cloud. Now, what's really interesting about this series is the people who are doing the recordings. The people who are doing the recordings and providing their expertise are our support engineers. And these are the people that you call when things go wrong. The PMs and the marketing team know how it should work. The support engineers know how it does work. So there's a lot of great experience. I really encourage you to dip in and out and get the content that you want from people who are real experts in this. As always, keep watching the Exchange blog. We have a ton of articles that come up on a regular basis, and that's where we put all the news that we've talked about today and anything new that comes out. So do watch the Exchange blog. And finally, we have a bunch of short links which are going to land you in the right place for the kind of content that you're after. So please do take these links and you'll land in either the virtual hub for the event or on a blog page. It's going to be a great place to find the information that you need. And And with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching the video, and thank you. Bye-bye.